Welcome back to our second segment of Community Tapestry. And if you're just joining us, once again, my name is Napoleon Bell, and I'm the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission. We have Miss Tony Bell. Is that right?
Yeah,
Ms.
it's
Tony
got a
Bell?
good ring to it.
Good ring. Oh, goodness.
Pun intended.
Right. So we are here on our second segment. We had a great first segment, and we're going to continue the greatness of our guests here with Community Tapestry, and we're looking forward to having a conversation because what we're trying to also look at is in our community and nationally in regards to how race and ethnicity impact, our decisions now and before and
Critical
going
thinking.
forward. And then what's being done, in some of the schools around the state, but then also some of the events that we have coming up too.
Right,
that
to bring
impact
awareness
that.
and inclusion and give people an opportunity to just kind of debrief from what's going on and just celebrate and enjoy one another.
Right, and how do we come together? So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. So let's start the conversation. And so I'd like to introduce to my left, I have Mr. Thomas Capps, and he's the Diversity Peer Educator and Marketing Coordinator within the Department of Global Diversity and Inclusion at Columbus State Community College. Did I get that right?
You got it.
All right. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
And then across the table, we have Mr. Jamal Bell. He's the Director of Strategic Communications and Film, and also within the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at The Ohio State University.
Yes.
I get that out?
Yes, you did.
All right. We got both of those out, and we're so glad to have you on board here to really have this discussion and looking forward to it. So first, though, we went left to right, so let me just start with Thomas Capps. Can I call you Tom?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll start with
All my
Tom.
friends call me.
All right, great. Well, we're quick friends here then.
Yes.
Tom, let me ask you this, because first of all, at Columbus State, could you give us a little bit of background on what a diversity peer educator is, but also what your department does there at Columbus State Community College?
Absolutely. Global Diversity Inclusion started out as just a couple programs, but over the last couple years has really grown into a true department. A diversity educator, peer educator, is someone that is a student first, and then becomes a work study position and begins working in that department. The reason that position is so important is because you're able to understand both sides of the fence. You understand working with the students and being a student, and you also understand working at the college and working with administration. So it's really important balance, and it's something very specific that we've come up with to try to tune in to that. But within the department itself, we've come up with a lot of different programs to not only help in educating the students, but help educating the campus and the community, because we are a community college. So we have a bunch of different programs. One of them is PONO. It's something it's a learning community. It's there to help people learn and expand on different cultures, learning from one another at the table together, kind of a conversation, and it goes through the whole semester. The next is Man Initiative. It started out as primarily a African-American male retention program. It was our highest dropout rate. So we wanted to focus on that and try to, what's missing? How can we fix this? And it's kind of gone to that point, and now it's expanded to all men on campus, and it has a scholarship, and we focus on making sure that the needs that they have are met. Launching this semester is the Women's Connection, which is the not the women's version of that, but a women's sector for women students and administrators on campus to come together and learn from one another, learn about leadership, learn about self-confidence, and expand on those things. So we're looking forward to that because that launches this semester. Columbus State Leadership Society, it has been in place for quite a long time, but it started with a conference where someone said, you want to be a leader? How do we do that here on campus? And so they launched a society where every semester students can come in and learn about leadership skills. And our department specifically focuses on the second sector and focuses on diversity, leadership and diversity. And then the last program, of course, is the Safe Zone program, which is the LGBTQ training, not just for students again, but also for the entire campus. And I said last, but there's one more that's very important. The Dream Network, which is our focus on international students as well as DACA students. It's a focus that President Obama really brought up a lot this year. And so we wanted to make sure that our students were represented and that we're informed and educated. So that's what that's there for.
You said DACA students. What is DACA students?
Deferred action. So it's students who have maybe they have different scenarios, but maybe their parents came here to live here at some point, and they've been here since 13. At least, and this is their home, so they live, work, and go to school here, and so they apply for DACA status in order to be here to work and go to school.
That's a lot of wonderful programming.
Yes.
I don't know how you keep track of it all, but it seems like something that's very all-encompassing, and you continue to morph as you meet the needs of the community.
Things change every day, so we try to morph with it.
That's good. Thank you.
How do you stay on top of that? I mean, you know, as Columbus is, you know, a hugely diverse city and continuing to grow.
Yes.
How does, because it sounds like your office has to be on top of this to be able to create the programs and to really adjust according to who all is coming in here to the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. It's not an easy task, but it's one that we, as again, I said, a community college, we have to be focused in on the community. And Columbus is so diverse that we take surveys on campus. We do lots of workshops, lots of leadership programs, lots of things to where we can ask the student and the people who work on campus, what is missing? And then when they tell us what's missing, we do our best to find a piece to put it in there and connect the dots so that everyone's happy and everyone's represented and everyone feels connected to one another. That's what really truly makes a community.
So speaking of connection, you also have a connection with Columbus State Community College and The Ohio State University.
Absolutely.
What is that connection?
Well, one is that for me personally, I'm a student at both universities, but also in the department, we have a long time relationship that we have had with the OSU so that we can, during the Martin Luther King celebration, partner together and bring in someone who is a notable individual in either the light of view today, but also in the civil rights movement, past and present. And we've partnered with them, I think, for the last at least 25 years. So, I mean, that's a strong partnership that we've had for a long time.
So when you came to Columbus State Community College as a student, is this what you envisioned yourself doing?
Absolutely not. I worked in corporate financing for 6 years. I came to Columbus State when I moved to Columbus, and I actually many people told me in the city, you want to figure out what you want to do, Columbus State is a place to go and really to discover yourself. And that was nothing but true. I started there as a volunteer, and I started a student group called Cougars for the Community, which focuses on students and campus and community of Columbus coming together and doing volunteer work. And that led into someone saying, hey, you should come work with us. So it's been a great journey, and I love it.
Great. Well, let's make this transition, because especially with Al Sharpton, I think this makes a great transition, and also to the Ohio State University and what you.
Not done. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I had to say it.
Right, and by that time we'll know.
We will have won.
Yeah, exactly right.
Thank you.
So let me turn it to Jamal Bell. Love your last name. Just want to tell you that. But
you might be.
We're related.
We might be related. Well,
Right.
you never know. We're all related in some way.
way.
Exactly right. So tell us a little bit about what goes on and why the Kerwin Institute was established, and how long I know it's been around a long time, but what all happens there at the Kerwin Institute?
Well, so the Kerwin Institute has been around since 2003. I guess, and I wasn't here then, I didn't come in until 2009. But I will say, from my memory, the Kerwin Institute started from different colleges around the university coming together to start an institute. One of the original goals was to have better retention and recruitment for African American professors, but also to have space where there's study, space where professors can get grants and study race and ethnicity. But over the years, it just started to grow into doing more engaged research inside communities. And that's where I came in. That's when I came in, when they were really deep into doing engaged community research with focus on marginalized communities. And they just had, and we just have this high quality of looking and to deepen the understanding of the causes and the solutions to racial and ethnic disparities, just to bring about a society that's fair and just for all. And so basically we want our research to be used inside of those communities, whether that's through policymakers, whether that's through justice advocates, whether that's through grassroots organizations. We don't do research with the expectation that it sits on a shelf. It's the expectation of it being used. So we don't spend a lot on publishing because it's like, here, we just printed it out. Here's a PDF, work it.
Go for it.
If you need help working it, we can help you work it. And so that's been really our push, is not for any of our research to just sit and look pretty and to be archived. It's to be used, it's to be used effectively, and that's really our mission and goal.
Well, with that research, and I'm sure you go back so many years, even prior to when you're established, but the research would do that. What do you see when we look at racism and affecting our nation? And I don't know if you guys drilled down to the city in a sense, but what is the research showing, from 50 years ago to now? What are we looking like there through research?
Well, I would say first that the research shows that it still exists.
Okay.
I mean, that's just that's the basic. But like the using the 50 year as a mark, we've been doing that lately the past few years because of all the historical markers with the Civil Rights Act. I think one of the all of that, and I think one of the things that the question that always comes up is, are we better off? Are we better off today than 50 years ago? That is such a tough question to answer because, bottom line, we've had major sacrifices in advocacy over the past decades that have produced great success for all people. Like the Civil Rights Act, 24th Amendment, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, Equal Opportunity Employment. However, there seems to always be a strategy that undermines that. An easy example is just our mass incarceration system today. We had slavery. We abolished slavery with the 13th Amendment. The counterplay was chain gangs, black codes, and Jim Crow. Chain gangs were outlawed, except for in Georgia. Then we had the Civil Rights Act. Then we got a drug war. And then the reinstitution of chain gangs and prisoner labor. Thus, we have mass incarceration, and we have advocates and policymakers trying to figure that out. So, yeah, we've made some progress, but it seems that there's always a strategy that undermines the progress. And that's probably the most discouraging, is when we see progress, there's this undermining of it.
So when you say strategy, are you thinking of there are a few conspiracists that have decided to come together and make some policies? Or tell me what you mean by there is the strategy. Drug
war was a policy. In order to create policy, there's a strategy. Deciding to have deciding to have prisons private is a strategy. It's not by accident. So,
do you see that as a strategy aimed at disenfranchised communities? So I'm asking this really direct question because because not only do you have research, but you've got some passion behind it. Do you see this as a strategy to just consistently keep underprivileged, disenfranchised groups out, or do you think that it's a happenstance of, we decided we were going to privatize, somebody had a strategy, but this is just what ended up happening to this group of people?
I think that can be very hard to answer, and to say that research 100% back the claim, because sometimes you have a lot of dog whistles and dog whistle politics where there's certain, I guess you could say, there's certain words, certain terms that people use to trigger something else. So instead of saying, instead of, like, for instance, in the 60s, they talked about, states' rights. And that was the dog whistle code word for, we want to have our segregation when we want it. We don't want to have black kids in our schools. I mean, but they use code words as states' rights. So it's hard to put that in the research because of the code words. People know what they mean, but getting someone to say it straight up, you know, so.
Does that make the work of the Kirwan Institute that much more important?
And difficult, yes.
It's important and difficult.
Important and difficult because, you know, one of the things that we're going to get into is the implicit bias angle that goes into this. And I'm not the expert on implicit bias. This is why we're a research institute and we have researchers behind it. But I would say that, you know, implicit bias just refers to the attitudes and stereotypes that affect the understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. And so implicit biases that we all have in one way or another are deep into our subconscious that is over a period of time is learned.
So by that you're saying whether or not someone locks their door when they see a certain person walk near their car, or
clutch their purse, or
or you're in a classroom and you assume that a certain group of people are going to get the better grades because they were. Is that what you're speaking about with implicit bias?
Yes, but even that can be, you know, for instance, implicit and explicit are not mutually exclusive. But I would say yes, but it depends on that person. It depends on that individual because it's a learned process through your early childhood experiences, you know, viewing and just even passive, casual observations. Like, for instance, if for your whole childhood, all you've seen were white police officers, you start to create these implicit associations that African Americans can't be part of that power structure. You know, can't be a police officer and that, you know, that these are the people that have these positions, you know, your politicians. And if there's no diversity there, then that child can assume that these people, that African Americans or other ethnicities are a lesser than because they're not in positions of power. But that's built implicitly, that's built in the subconscious.
Go ahead.
Well, can you unlearn? I mean, you know, people think, well, okay, there's implicit bias, and this is in your subconscious.
Yes.
Can you do anything about it?
It could be unlearned.
Okay.
But what's it going to take? What's it going to take to unlearn it?
And how do you? And because some people, if it's unconscious, some people wouldn't even recognize that I even have this bias.
Right.
Okay. I don't know exactly for sure. That's really a question for our senior researcher, Cheryl Statz, who's working on it. But she did produce an incredible book called the State of the Science Implicit Bias Review. This is last year's. But
so
this
can they
year's,
go online
yes, they can go on the kirwaninstitute.osu.edu and they can download the implicit bias review, and it's very detailed. It talks about implicit bias in housing, talks about implicit bias in education, talks about implicit bias in employment and how it works and how it can be remedied, how you can unlearn this. So so we have all the information there. Cheryl Statz and our executive director Sharon Davies, they're pretty much in tour mode across the country, giving talks about implicit bias to businesses, to police officers, to many different groups that want to know about this and want to know what they can do. The good thing about it is that there's an interest in talking about it and having the conversation and having this dialogue. So.
No, that's great.
Is this what you saw? So, you know, was this what you saw yourself doing when you came to the Kirwan Institute, or did you end up, you know, opening up something and go, wow?
Well, when I came to the Kirwan Institute, I think I was more of a mode of, is this all I'm going to do? I want to do more. What else can I do? How can I get involved? I really worked hard because, you know, I was never, I guess, into academia like that. I'm just a community person, a server, and I like to be able to use my expertise in communications to better communities. But I said, you know what, I'm going to get deep in here, and I'm going to learn what they're putting out there, and I want to be able to make sure I understand what they do, so I can communicate it with the public the best way we can, and to expand into films, to expand into, and to really improve our graphic design, because people can also learn in symbols, people can learn in video, people can learn in audio, and can we use all of these tools to just create a better society, because we have others that use all these tools to undermine good things that are going on in this society.
And you want to perpetuate the goodness.
Yes.
Now you talked about film. You recently put together a film that was quite impactful.
And impressive.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Tell us about it.
Tell us about that.
Well, that film was a reading of the letter from Birmingham jail, written by Martin Luther King. And what we did was that we got on the phone, got on the email, and we just emailed community leaders, university leaders to read an excerpt of the letter, and we were going to film them. Just in celebration of the 50th anniversary year of the letter from Birmingham jail. However, during the filming process, it just wasn't cool enough, and I just didn't think it was hitting home. And I said, well, what if we put the context in the midst of the letter, and actually, while you're hearing the words and seeing people read it, you're also getting the scenes of that day. You're also getting the context of that day. And that's why the film was in black and white. So you experience that day of the emergence of the television.
So when you have a good idea, how much time did it take you to get that good idea from your head to the screen?
Oh, well,
just as many as you thought, or?
Just as many, just as many as I thought, with the push and the pressure from my executive director.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to say on record, I still think I'm the first person she's ever yelled at.
Well, you got it done, and we're glad you got it done, because it was an incredible
it's
film.
impactful.
Thank you.
And nothing great ever was accomplished without some strife.
And it's still being screened a year later.
Okay.
I'm doing 3 screenings. I'm doing one tonight at Corpus Christi Community Center. I'm doing one at Marion County Correctional Facility. And we're doing one at Nationwide Insurance downtown.
So they can just get a hold of you
Yes, they can go on the website, kerwininstitute.osu.edu, or they can call 614-688-5429, and we can give you links to the film. The film is free. It's available to everyone.
Oh, great.
It's free.
Yep, and every school in Ohio has a copy, and every library in Ohio has a copy.
Well, this is a great segue, because we're talking about the letter from the Birmingham jail and such an impactful film that you did. So let me turn back though to Thomas Capps, because you were part of the Civil Rights Tour.
Absolutely.
And this is an annual Civil Rights Tour that the Community Relations Commission does in conjunction with the Friends of the Community Relations Commission. Tell us about, because Civil Rights Tour is coming back up, and Columbus State has been a part of this, with their young people being a part of this tour for the last several years. Tell us about, how that went for you.
Absolutely. Columbus State, they reach out to the students and they say, write us an essay and we'll give you a scholarship to go on this tour. And so we've been doing that partnership for quite a few years now. And I was given the opportunity to write a scholarship, and I received it this past year. And a lot of it's like a roller coaster, because you're so excited to go on a trip to learn and educate yourself about things. You read in books, but when do you often get the opportunity to see it, and to experience it? So
how did that compare? How did the books compare to what you experienced?
Not even close. Just because, you read letters on a word, or words in a book, and you can educate yourself, but really going to the locations and seeing it and feeling it and experiencing it for yourself, it's not something that you can read about.
Now the tour goes from Columbus to Atlanta, or from Columbus to Cincinnati, to Atlanta, to Alabama, and then to Tennessee. Hitting several locations. What was the most impactful look? What really grabbed you, from the location?
Oh man, there's a lot. We go to like 20-something locations, so that's a hard answer to find. But I will tell you that the number one for me, without giving anything away, because people need to go on the tour and see it for themselves. But when we went to Selma.
Okay.
With the movie coming out, and that is such a historical place. And when we went there, I mean, it was an entire day, you know, from I think what 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. all the way to like 11 p.m. And we just spent the whole day, you know, walking across, doing the bridge walk and going to the museums. And there's one museum in particular that really puts you in the shoes, you know, and really shakes you. And so I just know that day I came back, and I think everyone on the tour was just really like, how great, but how just deep.
Yes, yes, yeah, and on that tour, there were several people so deep that it brought tears to their eyes.
Yes,
because
I was one of them.
You really feel, yeah, you really feel it. So, and that's a tour, and for our viewing audience, that's a tour coming up April 7th through the 11th this year. So get signed up, because
you can go on our website at www.crc.columbus.gov, and right on the homepage you'll see Napoleon's face, and on the right you can click on it and register and get more information. And the flyer is really, really nice.
It's a nice flyer, but you got to get registered soon, because, as you know, we took 50 people, right?
Right.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we just got about a minute left. So if they want to get a hold of you and get some more information in regards to what you're doing there at Columbus State and get involved in some of these programs, what number should they call?
Telephone number 614-287-2426. That is our executive director's desk. So any questions they have can be answered there, or they can even visit cscc.edu/campus life/diversity. And everything's there.
Excellent.
Thanks, Tom.
Jamal?
KerwinInstitute.osu.edu, or they can call 614-688-5429.
All right, excellent. Well, you know, I appreciate your time here, and we've learned so much, and I'm sure we could ask 1,000 more questions, but we are out of time. Our next big thing with celebrating Dr. King and the history and legacy of those during that time is the Civil Rights Tour, which is April 7th through the 11th. Get on our website, get signed up, get registered. The seats are going fast. We only take 50 people. And so for more information, once again, www.crc.columbus.gov, or you can call our office too at 645-1993. And once again, Mr. Tom Capps, I'd like to thank you for being a part of the program. And Jamal Bell, I'd like to thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you.
And Ms. Tony Bell, thanks for being by my side. For all of those out there, have a great week and take care.